Welcome to the Rewilded Human Podcast, where Dr. Lucille, holistic psychiatrist and psychotherapist, and Dr. Lynn, naturopath and nutritional consultant, help you reconnect with your true self. Through practical tips on mental health, nutrition, exercise, relationships, and spirituality, with a dash of humor, they tackle today's toughest issues to guide you back to a harmonious, vibrant life. Rediscover your natural self, just as nature intended.
Welcome, everybody, to the Rewilded Human Podcast. And today we are just thrilled to have a discussion. The discussion is based on this eternal question that people have, which is, how do I attract more people to me, especially the really high quality people? So maybe you've just divorced and you don't know how to go about attracting the right quality of partner. Maybe you are in a new location in your life. You've moved and you are desperate to find new friends. So let's talk about what you can do to attract the right kind of person into your life. What would make you more likable? So Lynn, you have pulled up AI's AI's wisdom on this.
I chatted with my friend, ChatGPT, whose name is Lumen. She named herself. So I chatted with Lumen and we came up with 5 things. So let's see if you agree with it, Lucille.
Okay.
So the first one is genuine curiosity. Ask thoughtful questions and actually listen to the answers. People feel seen when you care. Do you agree with this one?
This, I think, is absolutely fundamental. Okay. And so you know what people do mostly, because most people are very insecure about themselves. Most people have problems with their own self-esteem. So what are they going to do in an interaction with, especially a new person? They're going to be focused on, how do I make myself look good? How do I impress this other person? How do I please them or be likable? So it's all about focusing on yourself. And you're usually having loads of negative thoughts like, oh, who am I? Oh, no, they're not going to think I'm attractive. Oh, no, they don't think I'm interested or whatever, or interesting. And you're totally self-focused, when actually what you should be doing is being relaxed and thinking about this viewpoint that I want to really get to know the other person, right? I really want to develop a meaningful interaction, right? And it's very easy when you think about it, because it really is about listening and asking questions. Absolutely. And so it's not about coming up with the perfect answer. It's not about waiting for the person to stop talking so you can immediately come in with some clever quip or some clever statement.
Yeah.
It's really about being silent a lot of the time and taking it in. And you don't have to rehearse anything. It can be very relaxed, because you are just following up on whatever they say.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's, oh, that's really interesting. So you worked in the nuclear industry. I don't know anything about that. Tell me what that was like. It's very easy, right?
So true. And because a lot of conversations kind of, like you said, like it just goes, each person wants to talk about themselves and nobody's.
Yes.
So when you have someone that's genuinely asking questions and is curious about your life, your feelings, you instantly feel closer to them. You feel more connected to them.
Absolutely.
Even if it's a stranger that you start talking to in the bus stop or on the street, and they're genuinely interested in what you do, where you come from, who you are,
right.
You feel like you're friends right away. As opposed to someone, and you see this on dates, if you watch those shows like Blind Dates and stuff like that, and it's always such a huge turnoff when somebody goes, yeah, well, I'm an executive and I make this much and I drive a BMW, and the person just talk, and then the woman walks out and says, he never asked me a single thing about myself. So he was just trying to sell himself to her.
Absolutely.
He never asked, who are you? What do you do? What makes you smile?
Absolutely. Like she could have been any woman in the room and he would have done the same thing, and it would have made every woman want to go to the washroom and not come back. Right?
Exactly. So this is also like not just for making friends, but also like for family connections, for trying to find a
Absolutely.
partner. So if you
Yes.
feel
Or
genuine
talking to your
curiosity,
kids,
yeah,
like being genuinely curious about like what happened in your day to day, what was the highlight, that sort of thing. Because once you have attracted the person, you want to maintain a depth of connection, a really meaningful depth of connection.
yeah,
So these are skills that you use not just in connecting for the first time with people, but in maintaining really deep connections,
yeah.
which is so important for our health and well-being, right?
Absolutely.
Mm,
And this I think works much better in person. I mean, of course, when you're
yeah,
chatting with someone online and you ask questions, yeah, it's still nice to have that curiosity and someone genuinely interested in you. But I think in person, when you have that physical contact and eye contact and everything, I think it's much more personal.
absolutely. And we read the signals, the nonverbal signals more accurately in person. And there is a frequency that people give out in person that you don't quite get from a screen. You just don't. And I remember when, at the beginning of what happened, years ago, when I had to move most of my work online, that it was so draining because when you're with somebody in person, you feel their frequencies. And if the two of you are just compatible enough, you feed it in a good way, you feed off one another. And those frequencies just kind of build into a higher frequency. And you sense when the frequencies are changing, and maybe they're getting sad, maybe they're getting anxious, or maybe they're starting to light up, and you can feel that in person, whereas it's it's flat, it's a little flatter online. And I found that therefore I had to kind of project more of myself into the session because it was just
Mhm.
harder to read what was going on with that person. And at the end of the day, I would be so drained. Whereas after an in-person session, I'm usually feeling a little more buoyed up.
Interesting. Very
Yeah,
interesting. I was
yeah.
seeing before the pandemic, I was also seeing a therapist and she also did energy healing because, I'm a mess at times. And she helped me a lot through difficult times. And then she moved away at that time and she was continuing on Zoom and I didn't continue because I need that face-to-face
Yeah,
personal
yeah.
connection. It's just not the same for me.
Not. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting, very interesting. So you agree with this being number one on the list? It makes
Well,
sense.
I would say it's definitely in the top five for
Oh,
sure.
definitely in the top
Absolutely.
five.
It's
Okay,
it's
so
fundamental. It's
okay,
fundamental.
so
Yeah.
we'll go to number two, AI versus psychiatrist. Let's see. Number two, warm energy. A smile, eye contact, and calm presence go a long way. You don't need to be loud, just open.
I think that is absolutely true. Well, I shouldn't say absolutely. I would differ a little bit with that. If you are normally extroverted, if you are more passionate, if you tend to be more animated, I would say be that way. Be that way. And, don't worry about being the calm, meditative type, because you want to attract people who are going to be compatible with you energetically, right?
Absolutely.
And you don't want to pretend. You do not want to try and be somebody you're not. Um, so you and I were just speaking before we started filming about a woman who's an expert on this. Her name is Vanessa Van Edwards. And she talks about, interestingly, make people allergic to you. In other words, those things that you feel, don't attract people to you, or, might not attract all the people that you want, but they are genuinely a part of you. Like maybe you are very extroverted. Maybe you talk a lot with your hands. Maybe you do make very emphatic points, and that is you, and you feel better in that persona. Bring it on.
Yeah.
Like bring it on and see if the other person reacts negatively, because you want to know that. You want to know, okay, they're not comfortable with that. This is not my kind of person.
Yeah. So you shouldn't
Okay.
be changing yourself basically in
It
order
should
to try
never
to
be about changing yourself. So, yes, I would say, I would word it more like just be yourself. Just be comfortable in yourself. You can be calm and still be a flamboyant, outgoing person if you
Yeah.
want to. And you can still be calm and be very introverted and shy. It's all about, are you compatible with yourself? Do you like yourself enough? Are you comfortable in your own skin? And I think when people are comfortable in their own skin, other people feel that.
Yeah.
They
Sure.
feel that. And, there's nothing worse than being with a person that is putting on a show.
But can you,
So,
like warm energy, it's not something you can fake. So maybe the warm energy is you being yourself and being with a compatible person who's
yeah,
resonating
it's
on
kind
the
of like,
similar frequency, right?
yes, because if you're comfortable with yourself, you're automatically warmer. Right?
Yes.
If you notice that,
Yes.
you're comfortable, you're warmer, you're not shut down, you're a little open,
Yeah.
So, yes, warmer, I would say, automatically comes with being comfortable in your own skin.
Yeah.
And that goes a long way to allowing the other person to feel warmer. If they come to it nervous, anxious, they will start getting that contagious feeling of warmth, right?
Absolutely.
So I absolutely agree. I think you can still be nervous,
Mhm.
like it's one of those, dating situations. You can still be nervous, but you know what? We are complex beings, I should say, and we can have layers of feelings at the same time. And that's okay. And so you don't want to go into it fighting your nervousness and telling yourself, calm down, calm down, calm down. Be okay, because that way you will relax more. You won't be fighting with yourself. Just say to yourself, it's okay to be nervous. I've never met this person before. I don't know what's going to happen here. It's okay to be nervous, but at the same time, you can still have that sense of confidence that, well, you know what? Whatever happens, I'm going to make the best of it,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. And smiling and eye contact, I think those are very
Smiling.
important, right? And
Yes,
if you're smiling, they say if once you start smiling, you actually start releasing happy hormones. So that will also make you a
absolutely.
warmer, more approachable person.
Yes. And again, I would say that is generally great advice. And however, sometimes in the conversation, it goes to a place where you don't want to be smiling, right? It
Mhm.
may go to a place where the person's telling you about how, their spouse of, 15 years died of cancer. And then you want to genuinely display on your face, that
Yeah.
empathy or compassion or what have you. So, and other things that the nonverbals are very, very important. So, for instance, sometimes just leaning in a little bit and moving your body a little closer into the other person's energy field at the right time can really develop a really important bond. Okay,
Not
it's kind of like
crossing your arms, not like this.
not crossing your arms, or not sitting way back,
No, no,
or
no, what's
pushing your
happening?
chair away, that sort of
Your
thing.
foot up on the desk.
Yes. You don't want to be too close though, because you
Yeah.
don't want to make people uncomfortable. But after a while of conversing, if you're starting to open up about more intimate things about your life, you will automatically maybe feel like you want to lean in a little bit more. And that's a good thing.
Mhm.
But you have to kind of feel it. You have to say, okay, I'm just not gonna intrude into the person's energy field. But at a certain point, it feels like the right thing to do. And that's a sign that you are linking up, you're connecting more,
That
right?
makes a lot of sense. And
Yeah.
you know what's funny? Do you know that every country has like a different version of personal space?
Yes. Yes.
Like,
Yes.
the Mediterranean countries, I mean, like, especially Italy, they will come and like a total stranger,
Right. Very close.
five
Yeah.
centimeters from you, like
Yeah.
sitting in your mouth,
Yes.
and that's
Yes.
perfectly normal. And then, of course, in North America, we like our personal space. It's quite
Basis.
large.
It is. It's
So
larger.
you
Yeah,
have
for
to
sure.
respect that, because otherwise it becomes very intrusive. If it's a friend, or
Yes.
if it's
Yes.
a potential lover or anyone, you really need to give the person the space initially.
Yeah.
I'm very protective of my personal space. Like, the only person, like, is my husband or my son. If I have them near me, that's fine. I can tolerate that, but I don't
Yeah.
really want strange, or even friends, like, not too close, like
Yes.
in your
Yes.
face.
Yes. And I also discovered that it works on Zoom as well.
Oh,
That in Zoom meetings, it's very uncomfortable for people a lot of the time if the person who's talking is right up against the screen, the face right up against the screen. It's kind of like, oh, everybody wants to back off a bit. Again, maybe a North American thing, and
yeah,
maybe it's fine in other countries, but I think you bring up a really good point in that you have to be culturally sensitive,
yes.
very culturally sensitive. And I have traveled in countries where, especially women
Mhm.
will they get really close to you, like it can happen in Middle Eastern countries as well, where they just really get close to you and they start kind of being a little clingy,
Yeah,
which
yeah. And then
I'm not that
you step
comfortable with.
back, and then they step with you. When you step
Oh yeah,
back,
that's right.
when
Yes,
I can
yes.
smell your breath, you're too close. It's like,
Yes. Or they start calling you by affectionate terms before you even really
yeah.
know each other, right? So you have to do your homework when you're with people of other cultures. You really do, right?
In Switzerland, we used to know this lady. She was an architect or something, and my husband was feeling hot, and he was like sweating a little bit. And she went there and she blew in his face, and she went, "My ass, husband, you don't do that." And he was like, "What?" So don't do that. Don't.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Okay, let's look at number. Oh, well, that ties into number 3 perfectly. Humor and humility. The ability to laugh at yourself and not take life too seriously is magnetic. Do you agree?
I agree. I agree. And you know what? But we have to be very careful here, right? Because too many people will launch into a kind of cynical humor about themselves, or critical. It'll turn critical.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I'm so stupid with money. You won't believe what I did the other day. And I maxed out my credit cards accidentally. And I'm so stupid about money. I can't believe that I do things. And they go on, being critical of themselves, and they can laugh about it, but it's too negative.
Yeah.
It's just like too negative. And so self-deprecating humor can be very charming, but it has to be tempered. It's kind of like, I can tell that funny story of, how I goofed up in a meeting with a colleague, and I can tell that story, and then, well, that's just me, without beating up on myself. People do not want to hear you beating up on yourself, right? It just
No, because it
grates.
makes you feel awkward. You don't know how to respond. Who is,
Yeah.
it's,
Yes, yes, yes. So yeah, so and that does tie in with humility, because obviously if you can laugh at yourself, it's a humble thing, right? It's a humble thing. And you can still be confident and
yeah.
still poke fun at yourself. So I think those are really, really good traits. And humility also, I think, is really important because in this day and age where everybody's got an opinion, and their opinion is right, and it becomes quickly a conflict if they're with somebody with a different opinion. It's like, we have to go to war now,
Yeah.
because you have to believe what I believe, and if you don't, you are spawn of the devil. Right? you know
Yeah.
so I think it's really important, even if you're with somebody who has a very, very different outlook on life, and maybe one that you really disapprove of, But if you want to extend yourself a little bit and see if there's any possibility to get beyond that difference, you want to be humble, and you want to, as we said earlier, ask questions to understand their point of view better.
Yeah.
Not to argue with them, but just to say, oh, okay, all right, so you really liked Biden. Okay, tell me more about that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
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 Right?
That makes a lot of sense. And humor, not just laughing at yourself, but just having a good sense of humor in general. Just
Absolutely.
taking life a
Absolutely.
little bit lightly, or if the other
Yeah.
person is telling a joke, to laugh at their joke. That always makes that people feel
Right.
special, right?
Right.
And it's also
Right.
nice because I mean, for me, actually, we should do an episode after this one about 5 things that make you not likable, because
Cool.
then I have a lot to say. We don't need ChatGPT, but
For that.
one of the traits is really just like someone that is not able to take a joke, and everything is a
Yes.
personal offense, and they get offended easily, and you have to walk on
Yeah.
eggshells, and that's like the exact opposite of this
Yeah.
humility, which is very important characteristic. It definitely makes people more likable. Okay,
Yeah.
number 4, consistency. Being reliable builds
Yeah.
trust. Likable people show up the same way with or without an audience.
Well, that's you and me, right? Because we show up whether or not we have an interviewee. We're
Yeah.
always consistent. Sometimes our interviewees don't show up, but we're always consistent.
They're ready to improvise. But it's funny because we've never let each other down. We've never been late for a podcast. We've never
Right.
right? We've never flaked on each other. So we know we can trust each other. But I know you had a friend who was always chronically late.
Oh, no, she was not late. What she would do is she would cancel, or she just would not show up.
Oh,
So
nice.
she would promise that, yes, we'll do something on such and such a day. But then a few days later, it would be, well, could we move the time a little bit, because I need to meet with my son beforehand, and I have to figure out, he hasn't told me what his schedule is. And then, okay, fine. And then the next couple of days it would be, well, he's still uncertain. He has to meet with a friend, and and it became like, oh my God, like, this is way too much work.
Yeah.
I knew it. It's kind of like she's trying to please everybody. She needs to be a good person and please everybody, and she's pleasing nobody, right?
And you feel like you don't matter, like your friendship
No, I
doesn't
don't.
matter.
I'm like 10th on the priority list, right? And also she had this habit of not really listening. So if I pointed out to her, listen, I also have a schedule, I have a life, and I cannot be allowing my schedule to be run by your son's schedule, right?
Exactly.
And she would say, oh, I understand. But, and then she'd go back to the way she always was. Now there are people like this all over the place, and I'm not trying to, really make them sound like they're the most horrible people in the world. They're not. They're really just, they're conflicted in themselves. They have a long-standing issue that they have never addressed, which is the need to please. They need to feel like, I'm a good person, a good mom, a good friend. I don't have any boundaries, therefore I will try to please everybody all the time, even if it's not working. I can't say no.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I have compassion. Like I've had instances in my life where I've behaved like that unconsciously, and you know what? And so the thing here is, yes, consistency is so important. And if you cannot be consistent, like you really cannot be there when you've promised to be there, you better have a damn good reason. I mean, a really good reason that really respects the other person's time and energy.
Absolutely.
Right?
No, because consistency is like the same as being reliable. So they know they
Sure.
count on you.
Yes.
You're true to your
Yes.
word. And I
Yeah.
think with friendship, any kind of relationship, we all like consistent people. We like reliable people.
Yeah. Well, we can trust them. We trust them far more, and trust is the
Trust
basis.
is everything.
Absolutely.
Let's
Yeah.
look at number 5. Number 5 is give more than you take. Whether it's your time, kindness, or just a moment of presence, generous spirits are unforgettable.
I agree.
Okay.
I do agree with that. I think that is a really good principle. And I also, that ties in with something else that I appreciate, which is spontaneity and creativity. So spontaneity would be, I just listened to this podcast. You're messaging somebody. I just listened to this podcast, and I realized that it made me think of you because you're really into this. And so I really am so happy that I learned a little bit more about what you're interested in. And so you're giving something, you're thinking about the other person. You may not have had contact with them for, I don't know, weeks, months, whatever.
Yeah.
And you're giving your attention, even if it's just giving more of your attention, right?
Yes.
And sometimes you're thinking, like I was thinking, I'm going to be meeting a friend of mine, for a beverage, and I thought, you know what, she's of a certain cultural background, and the cuisine, the pastries, are amazing. I love them, and I thought, you know what, I know where I can get some, and I'm going to bring some to her.
Very thoughtful.
Right. And she's the same way, right? Very, very generous, right?
Yeah.
And so and it really has to come from your heart. That's the other thing, right? Yeah. You don't want to feel like somebody is straining hard to kind of bribe you
Yes.
into liking them,
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. Or even trying to outgift you. I have a friend like this.
I'll give.
Erica, if you're watching, this is about you. It's like, it's terrible. It makes me feel terrible because it's like,
Yeah.
if I'll take her, for example, or I'll bring her like a donut to her work. Then next thing she's gonna, we'll go out with friends and my family, my friends, everyone's there, and she'll pay the bill for 11 people because I brought her a donut because she feels like she owes me, but she always wants to give back like tenfold. And it makes me so uncomfortable because I prefer to give a little bit more than I take. I'm always, I'm a giver, so I like to give, but I'm not good at taking. And especially she's so super generous. I've never met anyone like her. So I'm always feeling like I'm indebted to her and like that I can't give enough back. And then as soon as I give something back, then I get it back tenfold again.
You know what? I would say that looks like generosity, but it really comes from a place of a tremendous insecurity and a poor self-esteem. It's kind of like, I'm not good enough just to receive the gift without paying for dinner for 11 people.
Yeah.
It's kind of like constantly trying to prove that you're worthwhile. And it is part of that thing of feeling, like you've just said, feeling you're not worthy to receive.
Yeah.
My mother was like that, drove me crazy.
Oh, yeah.
She would, yeah, no, she got into panic states if somebody gave her a gift.
Wow.
It would be panic because she would feel totally obligated to give them something back. And it would drive her crazy because it was kind of like she felt enslaved to that other person now, when literally it was only about her choice.
Yeah.
She had a choice,
It
right?
was a fridge magnet, right?
Oh my gosh. So, and it was hard for me too, because I also felt sometimes guilty or obligated if people gave me gifts, even if I really liked the gifts, even if, I knew it wasn't that they were in any way trying to manipulate me. I would feel, oh gosh, I need to give them something back. Like Christmas is the worst, right? You get together, you get together with friends at Christmas, and nobody said anything about gift giving.
Yeah.
So you arrive and you're ready to have a nice time. Maybe you've brought cards for people and that's it, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden people start bringing out these gifts for everyone and you haven't brought anything. And I'm thinking, oh, Lord. And you know what? I learned to just say thank you and feel no guilt whatsoever.
Wow.
No guilt.
Do you have
And I thought,
do you have an online course where I can learn this?
do you know, because the thing is, once you get to that place of you are still a good and valuable person.
Yeah.
And just because you didn't get the email about bringing gifts doesn't make you an unworthy friend.
Yeah.
It's you just be gracious and say, thank you very much. That's so thoughtful of you. And then, maybe another time when you feel spontaneously like you want to give something to them, you give something to them.
Yeah.
But, you know, I don't know, but if you may feel this too. I don't like it when I'm somewhere and I've given somebody something and you can see they become uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Not that they don't like what you've given to them, but they have that thing about, oh, now I'm obligated. Oh, I'm a bad person because I didn't come prepared with a gift to exchange with you. Drives me nuts. I'm just happy to give the gift. If you like the gift, that's reward enough for me.
Yeah, no, I agree with you completely. And this gift giving thing is such a challenge. And, I try
Oh,
to do that with my friends. We just agree no gifts because you
right.
get it right. And it's like, I do like to give random gifts to my friends when it's not Christmas, not birthday, just because,
Sure.
and
Yeah. Like you're in a store. You're in a store, right? And you see something, my friend would really love
yeah,
that. And
exactly.
it's not extravagant. So you pick it up and you
Yeah,
give it to them, right?
yeah.
That's it.
And
Simple.
or with my friend Kay, we agreed no birthday gifts, but every year we'll give our gift of our time. So we travel and we go away together
Oh,
somewhere.
nice.
And that's
Beautiful.
like the perfect
Beautiful.
birthday gift. And it takes the pressure
Yes.
off everybody of trying to find the perfect gift. And I mean, what
Yeah.
better gift can you give than your time, right? If you're generous with your time,
Absolutely.
that's the most
Your time
important
and
thing.
attention. Yeah.
Give more than you take. Yeah, that's an interesting one. And is there anything, do you think, Lucille, that's missing from the list that should have been on it that's very important to make people more likable?
Here's one that I think would be radical. Not all people would accept it, right?
Okay.
It's when you are radically honest.
Hmm.
Okay. And a lot of people
Most
can't
people would
take
not
it.
like that.
They would not like that. And it may not be something that you are you bring out the first meeting. Okay.
Yeah.
But if you want to have a relationship deepen and develop, I think it is really important that at some point you be very honest about your boundaries. You be honest about, say, things about you that you're working on that might impact the relationship. Okay. So, for example, you've had, like, maybe it's a dating situation
Mhm.
and it's the second or third date and you're starting to talk about your past histories and all of that, and maybe that's the time to reveal that you are working on something that you learned about yourself in the past relationship and you really want to get over it. Like, for example, I'm not saying about me personally, it's just an example. I'm very insecure, and I realized that in my past relationship with my ex-husband, I drove him away because I was so jealous. I was insecure. Any bit of attention he would give to any other woman, it would drive me crazy, and I couldn't stop myself. And it was really eroding our relationship right from the beginning. And so I want you to be aware that I am working on that. And I want you to be okay to point out to me if you're feeling that that's happening between us, because I would really appreciate you pointing that out to me so it would help me to overcome this. That level of really radical honesty can be so powerful in solidifying a relationship. When
But
you
then
take so
you have to be able to take it.
you absolutely,
So, if you
absolutely,
open
right?
yourself up like that, then you have to be able to take the criticism when it,
Yes.
yeah,
Well,
that's
and you're not really asking so much for criticism as
pointing.
the other person to mirror back to you. Listen, I think what you've just said makes me feel like you're insecure about my
Yeah.
relationship with my secretary, whatever.
Yeah.
Do you want to? Should we talk about this?
Mhm.
Let's get this out in the open,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Rather than you bitch.
Yeah.
How dare you? It's not going to be like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Especially in intimate relationships, because that kind of radical honesty, where the two of you are collaborating to help each other get over your unresolved issues and
Yes.
move to a higher level, that is going to like create such a beautiful relationship going forward.
Yeah.
It will
And I
really
think like
prevent
in friendships as well. I think this would be important.
friendships. Yes, it's not so intense in friendships, right? But in the really
But I have to
intimate
say,
ones.
I do have a couple of friends that I can be brutally honest with, like especially when they're like screwing up and they're just, going down the wrong path, and I can just shake them and go, stop it, And I love that. I feel closer to people that I can honestly
Sure.
tell them, where I don't have to be walking on eggshells and, I can't really say anything to them because I will offend them. But I can say, you're being an idiot, stop it, don't do it. And that's just,
Yes.
and then you feel much closer to the person.
Much closer.
Yeah.
And people are so afraid of that, and they're so afraid of disagreeing. But I feel really I value friendships where we can openly disagree, but still really like each other.
And respect each other's views.
And respect each other. I think those are stronger relationships than the ones where we're always agreeing on everything.
Yeah.
And there are no disagreements, no shaking people. I mean, you and I have to go to the next level where we have to have an argument about something, Lynn. Okay.
Next episode. Next episode. You guys want to tune in because Dr. Lucille and I will be arguing.
Yes, we'll be arguing. We'll have to find something. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to find something to argue about, but we'll find something.
But it's going to be a very serious argument. So if you're not subscribed to this channel, you want to sign up right now because it's going to be heated. I'm telling you right now.
It will be totally heated. Yeah, it's a good thing we're behind screens.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, that brings us to the end of this episode. If we missed something in this, or ChatGPT missed something, let us know below what other qualities you think might be important to make you more likable. And also let us know if you want us to do an episode about 5 things that make you less likable, because that could be an interesting topic as well. And we've got more podcasts coming up. I'm trying to think what the next episode will be. Oh, the next episode will be an interesting one with Dr. Kunga, and it's going to be about falling and how to fall safely. And she works with the elderly, so that's going to be a very interesting episode. And we've got some really cool guests coming up, so I'm very excited to share all of that with you guys. Thank you so much, guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share this episode, and we shall see you in the next one.
Yes. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Rewilded Human podcast. We hope you're leaving with insights to reconnect with your natural, vibrant self. Remember, the information shared here is for educational and inspirational purposes only, and is not a substitute for medical advice. Always consult a qualified healthcare provider for any personal health concerns. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, subscribe, and share it with others who might benefit. We'll see you next time, ready to dive even deeper. Stay wild, stay true, and stay tuned.